come together. And as you notice, there's a little change here. And doesn't it look good? I know it's a mess, but it looks good. It's a good mess. And so it's exciting to see this wall coming up here. And there's no water in the baptistry yet, but maybe next week there will be. And so it's exciting. Oh, Alan's saying no. Never mind. Nothing to see up here. But behind here, we're putting up the walls, putting up the change rooms, and just exciting. Soon we'll be able to have the baptisms here. And the progress on selling the old church building and land over there is well on its way. It's being surveyed soon, and so thankful for that. Does it help me standing back here a little bit? I was here ringing in my ears up there. So it's so good to see everybody here today. If you are visiting here with us, usually we have order of worship and a fill in the blanks on the back, just with everything going on this past week. And I know Ken had surgery, successful surgery. Judy's here with us. And so praying for Ken, and a lot of other people are having procedures. I know Ruben had surgery not long ago, and Barbara Gray had hand surgery, and quite a few other people. So thankful that everything's going well so far, and that everybody's getting healthier. So good. If you're a teen or have a teen in your family, let you know we have a devotional tonight from 5 to 7 at the building over there. And Ryan told me he's going to have pizza over there, so that helps. So if you're a teenager, and if you don't know if you are, you know, there's something else we need to talk about. If you're a teenager, 13 through 18 or so, feel free to go over there to that. And we're so glad to have Ryan here, although he's not here with us right now. He's here in spirit. He'll be back. He's on a little trip this weekend, but he'll be back tonight. And so what I want to talk about today, appreciate the reading of the passage. I was in between Matthew 24 or Luke 12. You know, we have many of the parables and lessons of Jesus in multiple Gospels. And I was Matthew 24 all week, and then Friday I decided to change to Luke 12. So if you want to read another account of that, you can go to Matthew 25, verses 42 through 51. So I like this account here in Luke chapter 12 for a couple of reasons. And so I thought about titling this sermon, Are You a Prepper? Do you know what a prepper is? Someone who preps for really bad times if they ever come, something like that. But I decided to title this, Beware of something. And the reason why I decided to talk about this is I had an interesting situation happen about a week and a half ago. And I'm curious if some of you had the same thing. I think it was a Thursday night. About a week and a half ago, I had a phone call. It was about 7:20, and I didn't answer it. We were finishing up with dinner. And so I checked the phone call at 7:40. I didn't recognize who was calling, so a lot of times I just let that go to voicemail. And I heard the message, and it was a message saying that our electricity was going to be turned off from 8 to 9. How many of you guys did that happen to? Anybody else? Okay, you guys, the Slorps as well. And so it was interesting. It's just like our subdivision area there around Helke Park, around there. And this was at night. And so it says, and it was sound like someone not from born in America. And so it sounded like someone maybe from Chinese background. And it was just interesting. It said, your electricity is going to be turned off at 8 o'clock. To fix some major repairs, and it'll be off for maybe an hour. I'm like, it's one of those messages. I listened to it again, make sure I understood what she was saying, and they were going to turn off our electricity for about an hour at 8 o'clock. This is about a week and a half ago, and it was about 20 degrees outside, okay? And it was already dark. This is before daylight savings time by a little bit. And it was really dark. I'm like, oh my. It's like, we had to get ready. But one of the thoughts I had to have was, is this serious? Is this a serious phone call that I'm going to have to do? And I thought about it real quick, and I said, well, it's one of those things, I'd rather be ready than not. And so we went into action. The kids were still finishing up food. Big surprise, it takes them longer than 20 minutes to eat their meals. And so I was like, the electricity is going to be turned off at 8 o'clock. This is, what? I said, lights, everything gone, you know, in 20 minutes. So we went in high prep mode right then. You know, we finished the food as quick as we could, started getting the kids ready to bed, and I started lighting some candles because everything was going to go out, right? You know, when you think about this, you think, what do we need to do? What do I need to do that I need electricity for? And so lit the candles, and of course the kids are excited. Yeah! Oh, electricity's going to be out. Stephen has school the next day, so it was already getting into his bedtime. And so we get into it, and then time is approaching, and 8 o'clock. Got the candles lit, think I've got everything that I need to do right there at the time. And I'm thinking, is it really going to happen? This is so strange. This has never happened to me in my life, where they say, okay, we're going to turn off the electricity at 8. Now, this happens often in Russia and Ukraine in the summer times. They'll put a notice on the building that says, we're going to work on the water from this date to this date. And there's not going to be any water, or electricity is going to be turned off, because they do the repairs in the summer where they don't have a couple of feet of snow. And so, but I've never experienced that here. So I was a little doubtful. I thought it was going to happen because the call sounded for real, even though it had a good Chinese accent. And I said, okay. And then at 8 o'clock, exactly, you know, my watch is, you know, with the satellites. And exactly at 8 o'clock, whew, everything's out. Now, about 7 minutes before that, I was upstairs getting the candles and trying to put a candle. Each one of the kids' rooms had a candle. We had a candle in our bedroom, and downstairs in the basement, we had a few candles. I saw my neighbor. He's been working on his kitchen, remodeling it himself, and I can see the progress of that as I go back, you know, through my window with his last 2 months. And I noticed he was working in it. I said, I don't think Jay knows that all electricity is going out because he's working on it. I said, if I have time, if I get everything ready, I'll text him. And I didn't have time. And I saw him turn on some lights and do some more work that he could. And so the lights went out. And so we were downstairs. Ida Rose was still brushing her teeth. And she was like, you know. And so I had a candle there. And so all we had was candles. The fireplace, you know, the light that came from the fire, but the fans had gone out. And we had Stephen with his Thomas the Tank Engine light, and Ida Rose with her pumpkin light. So that's all we had. And I was like, whew, I'm glad, I think we got everything ready. And so, I mean, once again, the kids were loving it. They weren't going to go to bed. They were just doing like campfire stuff, you know, all this, enjoying it. But that sent me to thinking about spiritual things. Wasn't it a blessing that I had this warning? Because what if this would have went off and I had no warning whatsoever? Kids might have still been around the kitchen table. I might have been doing something, watching the Grizzlies lose a basketball game or something, and then everything goes out. You're thinking, I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know if this is an accident. Did I pay my bill? You know, all these thoughts would go into my mind. But because I got the phone call, I was forewarned. And I was able to get ready for it. Now, one, I'm glad I listened to the message, right? Because they called, and it wasn't a convenient time when they called. And I didn't listen to it. But I listened to it a little bit later, and it wasn't too late. And so there was all of these different thoughts that I had about how this could apply to my spiritual life and how it could apply to all of our spiritual life. And so I want us to think about this. I want to reread this passage in Luke 39. I'm not going to read all of it, but starting in verse 39. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, he would not have allowed his house to be broken into. You too, be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect. Peter said, Lord, are you addressing this parable to us or to everyone else as well? And the Lord said, who then is the faithful and sensible steward, whom his master will put in charge of his servants, to give them their rations at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes, truly I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. Wow. Do you understand the obvious implications of this to us today? Now, imagine some kind of awful event coming, and it's going to happen. No matter what we do, no matter what we say, it's going to happen, and you had no idea it was going to happen. Had no idea it was going to happen. It would be devastating. You would think, oh, why didn't we know? Why didn't we prepare? Talk about the losses that occurred. But what if you knew of the impending huge event that was going to happen? And what thought comes to your mind? Can you think of an example of something like that happening besides Christianity? I thought of one, Paul Revere. You know, that kind of thought came to my mind. You know, he was a silversmith in the Boston area, grew up in Boston. His dad came from France when he was 13, but he grew up as a silversmith, born in Boston area. And what he did was, he and some people he got in charge of was on watch to see when British were coming. And when he saw that it was going to happen, he came and warned the area of the impending attack. Now, it was bad news, okay? It was bad news, but it was welcome bad news. Now, I was not happy that our electricity was going to be cut off, but I was happy that she called me. Because then I could prepare, right? Then I could prepare for something that was going to be inconvenient. With that, with my electricity, it was just an inconvenience. But there's going to be more things that's going to come that's going to be much more than a simple inconvenience. And so we have to think with this knowledge that we have with salvation and with Jesus coming back. First of all, like I had to think about the lady who called me. Is this really going to happen? Is this a reliable source? And you have to think about that. And a lot of people do think about that. Is Jesus coming back? Is that really going to happen? I believe it is. Some people think that Jesus already come back, but he's yet to come back. And it's going to be a game changer. It's going to change life as we know it completely. Not just for us here, but all over the world. Okay? It's going to change. Now, the difference with this, with Jesus coming back, we don't know the exact hour that he's going to come back. You know, there's songs that have been written and people that have said, if I know the day I'm going to die, or if I know the exact hour and day that Jesus is going to come back, then okay, I'll get busy. I'll get things in order then. But like the passage says, he's going to come like a thief in the night. And how does the thief in the night come? Does he send a postcard a couple weeks before? Hey, I'm going to come March 12th. I'm going to come rob you blind. And I may hurt one of you. We'll see how I'm feeling. It's like, okay, all right. No, of course not. He comes secretly. He comes in the night, so you're caught unaware. And it's bad. Now, Jesus is going to come like a thief in the night where no one knows when he's going to come. So, what do people do? So, in case they do get robbed, they what? Lock the doors. They maybe get a security system. Maybe even hire a guard. Okay? When I was spent some time in Haiti, I was a guard at a place at night. And so I understand, you don't know when people are going to come to do bad things, but you always have to be ready. You always have to be prepared and ready for the time that you know that's going to come at some point. So, I believe the Bible, and I think most of us here believe the Bible. But what do you do when so many other people don't believe the warning? Now, I had the opportunity to warn my neighbor, okay? But I wanted to make sure my house was taken care of first. Was I wrong for that? Barbara said, yes. If you were my neighbor, sorry. But, obviously, you have to take care of your house first, don't you? Before you help other people. That's why they say in airlines, put the mask over yourself so then you can help other people. It makes sense. So you have to make sure that your house is solid and taken care of, then you can help other people. So ask, is everybody in your house safe for when Jesus comes back? Is everybody saved? Or at least have you tried to help everybody to be in a safe place with Jesus at that time? If not, there's some anxiety, isn't there? When that time came at 8 o'clock, I knew where everybody in my family was, in the house, and I knew that there was a light of some kind where they were. Okay? There's some responsibility that we bear because we know what's going to happen. If you know, and you all do know about Jesus coming back, there's a responsibility that you have to share with people that don't know. That is a big responsibility, isn't it? What do you do with that? It's like, welcome back, Stan, Sharon. It's good seeing you guys back from Florida. Just recognized you. What do you do with that huge recognition when you recognize that? Do you just say, you know what? I don't think God's going to call me on it because there's so many other people that have that same responsibility. A lot of people do that. That's kind of called that when a lot of people know about a situation, everybody thinks someone else is going to take care of it. But there's been quite a few studies done on that, and usually what happens, no one takes care of it. Like when you're in a crowded area and there's a kid kind of saying, a kid's crying, you think, oh, there's people here to take care of that. That's not my job. Now, I'm aware of the kid crying. Cute kid. But I'm sure someone else is going to take care of that. There's been studies that show that most time no one takes care of the kid. No one. Whether it's in a shopping area or out on the street, busy street, no one takes care of the kid. Because they think, well, the parent's soon going to be there. Someone's going to take care of it. Hopefully we're not like that. This is much more important than a crying child. And a crying child is very important as well. Luke chapter 12. I'm going to start a couple of verses before what I read before, okay? Before I started late in the 30s. Now I'm going to start in verse 35. Be dressed in readiness and keep your lamps lit. Be like men who are waiting for their master when he returns from the wedding feast, so that they may immediately open the door to him when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those slaves whom the master will find on the alert when he comes. Truly I say to you, that he will gird himself to serve, and have them recline at the table, and will come up and wait on them. Whether he comes in the second watch, or even the third, and finds them so, blessed are those slaves. But be sure of this, that if the head of the house had known at what hour the thief was coming, it would not have allowed his house to be broken into. You too be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour that you do not expect. Okay, this aspect that we know and we're held responsible, and we're going to be held responsible by Jesus. Because when he comes back, not only is he coming back to judge everybody, he's coming back to see which of his slaves are good slaves. So it's not enough just to call yourself a slave of Jesus, as he is our master, but you have to be a good slave. Apparently, there's going to be some bad slaves that are not listening to him, not doing what they should, that are going to be cast out with everybody else. Who is that? Hopefully not you. There's going to be a lot of people that call themselves Christians that aren't living as Christians, aren't they? There's a lot of people that know about the responsibility that they need to live up to that are not doing that. So, we need to make sure that our house is ready and our light is lit. And ready for that time when electricity's turned out, or in this case, when Jesus comes back. That's a heavy responsibility. I keep going to that because it's a big responsibility, and we all need to feel it. Sometimes if you don't feel a responsibility, you need to still take ownership of that responsibility. Even though you may not have any emotional attachment to that responsibility, you still need to say, you know what, it's my responsibility to do this. Maybe because society is saying it's not a big deal, don't worry about that. Like something as small as picking up trash that's around, that you see lying around. You may not say, that's not my responsibility. But you know, at least I feel it, I like to pick that up. And you can tell yourself, you know what? It's everybody's responsibility. And that's something small like that. But with the coming judgment, it's big to everybody. So I have a question. Have you done the prep work? Have you lit the candles? Have you made sure your family's ready? Well, if you have, wonderful. Then it's time to talk to your neighbors. And that's the awkward thing, right? If I did send that text to Jay, am I concerned about whether that he already knows, and I'm kind of saying that, oh, how could you not know? Is he going to say, I am insulted that you thought I didn't know that? Would I be worried about that? No. And if I already knew that, and one of my neighbors, by the way, no neighbors texted me about it, but what if they would have texted me and I would have said, I'm insulted that you would tell me that. No. I would say thank you. Thanks for letting me know that. And yes, I know, and yes, we're getting ready. Why would people be insulted if you care for them and you want to tell them, do you mind if I share something with you? Who would be insulted by that? Hopefully no one. I don't think they would. And you know what? Telling of guaranteed bad news that can be prepared for is not a blessing. I mean, it's not a curse, but it's truly a blessing, isn't it? Paul Revere, he's not remembered as someone as a bearer of bad news. He's remembered as someone that probably saved a lot of lives. A lot of American lives, because then they could wake everybody up, get ready, get in formation in order to do battle. I've told this to many people. If you tell me I have salmonella in my refrigerator, I'm not happy that I have salmonella in my refrigerator. But I'm glad if you tell me, because then I won't eat what's bad and get sick. That's simple, but how much more when it comes to salvation? If you see someone's life, and it's obviously they've got an illness, that they're sick, that they're not in the relationship with God that they need to be, it's obvious. Then if you don't say anything to them, then you bear some of that guilt. I'm not saying that you're a bad person, but you're bearing some of the guilt that they don't respond. You can't control their response. You can't control the response, but you can control you telling them. Okay? That is our responsibility. I want to read one more passage here. It's in Isaiah 61, verses 1 and 2, and also it's in Luke chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. It says the exact same thing. And this is the passage from Isaiah that when Jesus, he got the scroll out and read it when he began his ministry. Okay? The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me. He has sent me to bring good news to the afflicted, to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, release to the prisoners, and to announce a year of favor from the Lord. That's what Jesus read when he decided to begin his ministry. What he's saying is, it's my obligation to bring the good news to the people. It's my obligation to tell people about what's going to happen. In the next 3 years, he did nothing but that right there. Now, for those of us that know, that verse is just as much for us as it was for Jesus at that time. That should be our mission, shouldn't it? To tell people about the good news. Freedom for the captives. Sight for the blind, spiritually, correct? And to be in the year of the Lord's favor. What a great blessing that is. But if we do not speak, then they cannot hear. And if we do not speak, we cannot fulfill what God has asked us to do and be. If this speaks to you, if this means something to you, then live differently. Change what you've done. Talk to a family member. Talk to a neighbor. Or if this speaks to you that you haven't responded in the first place and you haven't become a Christian, then it should. And it's not too late to respond and get baptized. Please come forward as we sing this song.
This world